welcome. You're watching Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi Batra and this is a special show where we're going to be focusing all on the SME IPO space. Now there's a big rush for small IPOs in India. This is about the space within the SME or the small and medium enterprises IPO space, and this space is seeing a frenzy like never before. So far in 2024, about 153 these small and medium enterprises companies have launched their IPOs to raise nearly 5,040 crore rupees. But the average subscription in these SME IPOs has actually stood at a whopping over 200 times. About a dozen of these SME IPOs have got subscription anywhere between 500 times and 2,000 times. Let me give you an example right here. The recently concluded IPO on August 26, the 12 crore SME IPO of Resourceful Automobiles is the latest one, which has actually surprised many investors with the huge demand it has garnered for the IPO. The company, Resourceful Automobiles, is a two-wheeler dealer. The company has two Yamaha showrooms here in Dwarka and Delhi under the name Sony Automobiles. And this company employs only 8 people. 2 showrooms, 8 employees. The amount of money they wanted to raise via their IPO is just about 12 crore rupees. Despite this limited scale, this IPO of Resourceful Automobiles has got an overwhelming subscription of over 400 times. So the IPO worth 12 crores has attracted bids worth 4,800 crores. This remarkable response has left market experts scratching their heads. And not just that, there are many other such examples. Case in point, a 5 crore IPO of Hoak Foods India was oversubscribed 1963 times in May of 2024. Similarly, a 6.6 crore IPO of Magenta Life Care was oversubscribed by over 1,000 times. And there have been many such examples like that. Let us compare the main board IPOs with the SME IPOs to give you a contrasting picture right there. Now, data shows that for every main board IPO, around 3 SME IPOs have been launched each of the last 3 years. So that's the kind of flurry of IPOs that are coming in SME IPOs. A total of 45 main board IPOs have been rolled out so far this year with an average issue size of 1,070 odd crores and the average oversubscription of 43 times. Compare that to the SME IPOs. So far in 2024, 153 SME IPOs have raised nearly 5,000 odd crores and the average subscription of these issues has been over 200 times. That's the comparison. Now, within this, look at some of the key cases. 5 of the most overbought SME shares of this year have seen cumulative bids exceeding 65,000 crore rupees. This is over 1,100 times of the money that they were supposed to raise. They had only aimed to raise about 59.3 crores. These companies were aiming to raise only under 100 crore rupees, but they got massive subscriptions. Maybe you will get a better picture when I compare it with the latest main board IPO that you have seen, Ola Electric's IPO. This is the recently listed main board IPO. Ola Electric's IPO size was around 6,000 crores. The IPO was subscribed over 4 times. Resourceful Automobiles, a company which is from the auto space, was a dealership having just 2 showrooms, 12 crore IPO, got a subscription of over 400 times. So you see the comparison for yourself. The main board IPOs, the huge size of IPO there and the kind of subscriptions that we are getting, which is also good, massive. But the small size of IPOs that are coming in SMEs with small scale of operations, but they have got huge demand, huge oversubscription. Now, while SEBI, the capital markets regulator, has consistently urged caution, the lure of robust listing gains, stock performance continues to draw investors to this SME IPO space. In the past 3 years alone, the SME IPOs have broadly outperformed the main board IPOs in terms of oversubscription, listing gains, and even the post-listing gains. And therefore, you see why are investors really turning to SME IPO space. The BSE SME IPO index, which tracks these micro listings, has rallied as much as 143% since the beginning of this year, as against a 13% gain that has been clocked by the benchmark Sensex in the same period. So that's the kind of difference that you're seeing in even on the index level. The enthusiasm for SME IPOs is not new. The SME IPOs index surge has also seen rising from 24,184 at the start of 2023 to the current level of 1,13,056, a gain of over 4.5 times. So the index level itself has seen a 4.5 times appreciation in less than 20 months. It's not just the domestic or the retail investors that are creating this frenzy within the SME IPO space, but even the foreign investors who are unloading their holdings of expensive Indian stocks in the secondary market and turning instead to listings and primary market space where they seek cheaper exposure to the markets and better returns in a short time. Foreign investors have so far sold a net of $3.4 billion worth of equities in the secondary market, but they have purchased a net of $1.5 billion through primary market issuances so far, according to the Central Depository Services Limited data that we've got. A Society General report also shows foreigners have bought more than $6 billion of stocks on the primary market this year, their highest purchase since 2020-21. Looking at this euphoria, it is natural to question whether this surge is sustainable, whether this is a bubble, will it eventually come to an end, and the question almost seems rhetorical. Let's now listen in to find out what our top market experts really saying, looking at the frenzy in the SME IPO space. We spoke to Sharad Abasti of Smiths a little while earlier and quizzed him on this entire space, and this is what he had to say.
The basic rule of investing is very simple, Sakshi, that you should only invest in instruments that you understand. Understand in terms of the potential of the returns that they can generate as well as the risk that they can emanate. So I think with SMEs, what is happening is you're throwing caution to the wind. This is a perfect example. There have been many examples of this kind within the SME space. When I refer to as some problematic areas of investment, generating abnormal income for some people, I was referring to these kind of things, and some other platforms are also there. The regulator cannot keep track of everything, but I think they are doing a good job. These are still comparatively a very small portion of the total investment, so they are not very problematic for us. But I think you should have a keen eye, and for investors, I think certainly avoid these kind of stories where you don't understand the business. And I think if your advisor cannot tell you what kind of business it is and how it can grow and not grow, there are some startup platforms where they put in money without even looking at the financials of the companies. So I think these are all problematic things. They're similar to Bitcoin. If you want to take that kind of risk, that's okay. But if you don't understand the risk, I think you should not be jumping into buy these things. Keep it very simple. You only buy things where you understand the risk and the return probabilities.
A risky space and a risky proposition, that's something that you need to keep in your mind in case you yourself are looking at the opportunities that are being presented in front of you within the SME IPO space. Do be aware of the kind of risk that exists. If you're not sure about the key business, the outlook, the expansion, the scale, and whether there is a promise right there, please stay away from such companies. In case you do have a fundamental expert explaining to you, helping you out and guiding you, only then go ahead and take that risk or exposure within the SME IPO space. Otherwise, it's your hard-earned money. You should be very, very cautious when you are actually looking at the opportunities being presented here, especially looking at the kind of euphoria euphoria and frenzy that exists in the current environment within the SME IPO space. We'll continue to get you such coverage around what's buzzing on the D Street, where is it that there are more risks, where is it that you need to exercise caution, and what's really happening, to at least keep you aware of what's happening around on the D Street. But in case you liked this coverage on the SME IPOs, do mention in the comment section below, and also let us know in case there is anything else you want us to cover on Business Today Television.
The Sunni Waqf Board of Bihar has claimed this entire village. Just about an hour's drive from Bihar's capital city of Patna, the Govindpur